I met a person at a bar.
How it always happens.
He was like, "You need to come to Burning Man." And I was like, "What is Burning Man?" I was like, "What is Burning Man?" And he was like, basically, don't ask too many questions. Trust me, I'm going to pull up to your apartment in an RV and you just
And you were like, yes.
I was just out of college. I had like 16, jobs. I was like, I don't know how, but I was like, I'm going to get in this RV when you pull up to my house. And I did. And in the RV, I met Jade and Alex, who were the lead singers of Edward Sharpe.
So tips for people just starting out, get in the RV.
Safely. Make sure you feel safe.
I'm your daddy.
I can be smart when it's important.
I'm your daddy. I'm
sorry to this
I'm your daddy.
Welcome to Daddy Dailies, a podcast hosted by Not Your Daddy's Films. On a film set, dailies are sent out after a shoot day so you can see the work in progress. Daddy Dailies are conversations that go behind the scenes so you can see what work went into the process and be better armed to succeed in the industry. Daddy Dailies, hosted by Not Your Daddy's Films. Okay, here we are. Hello and welcome back to Daddy Dailies. We are two of the founders of Not Your Daddy's Films. I am Carly Tamarin.
And I'm Vika Stubblebine. And we are your hosts today. We have the wonderful Nora Kirkpatrick on, a writer, director, actor who grew up in rural Iowa before graduating from UCLA School of Theater, Film, and Television. Shout out Bruins. Myself and Catherine Hughes are both UCLA grads. After graduating, Nora joined Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, won a Grammy, and toured the world. Insane. I know. Insane. I'm like, what? They played Coachella, Lollapalooza, Glastonbury, among a million other places. She was a founding member and she played accordion, which we talk about in this episode, for 7 years with the group. And then she honed her writing skills on tour. And when she left the group, she hit the ground running, selling shows to CBS, Hulu, Paramount, and Comedy Central. She was a writer on Amazon's Emmy and Golden Globe nominated series Daisy Jones and the Six, which if you haven't seen or listened to the music, you should get over to Spotify right now.
Yeah. Also, if you haven't watched that, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
What
it's
are
a good time.
doing?
Sorry, she was a writer, co-producer on The Runarounds, another music-based show from the creator of Outer Banks. And prior to that, she created, wrote, and directed a 15-episode interactive television show for Echo and Funny or Die called The Coup, co-starring Tony Hale, Bobby Monahan, Bridget Everett, and Margaret Cho. And shout out my friend Katie Wee. She created, wrote, and directed Door Number One, which is a live-action VR comedy series that starred Snoop Dogg and Robbie Patel. And she directed On the Goldbergs. She was also the first woman ever to direct a campaign for Bud Light, which sounds absolutely crazy to me.
Slay.
And she recently wrapped production on her second feature, Whodunit, a rom-com starring Lana Condor and Jack Whitehall, which will be released later in 2026. She's currently in the room as a writer-producer on Amazon's upcoming series Escorted, starring Brett Goldstein, which we got to talk to her while she's in the middle of. So get ready for an amazing conversation. Okay, welcome Nora Kirkpatrick to Daddy Dailies.
Yay!
Woo! Okay, so your career has truly spanned music and film and television, and you were in one of the biggest bands that I got to see on tour. Can you share how that came to be? Like, was that a dream that you always had to be in a rock band, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I grew up in a small town in Iowa. And I think like being in a rock band was not a dream that was like very available to me. It was not something I knew. I was like, oh yeah, you just do this and you do that and you do that. And then that was not a path I understood. So I would say the fact that the band happened was like the most beautiful combination of unusual events and really sliding doors moments of I met this person here and they knew I played accordion. And then I met this other person here. And it really came together in a very unusual way that I was not expecting. And also, I think I could say this cumulatively, was not expecting the music to be popular right off the bat and for people to really latch onto it. So what I thought would be kind of a fun thing to do with a group of people ended up being going on tour for 7 years. So it was unexpected in all the best ways and was the most beautiful 7 years I could imagine spending. Yeah.
That's so fun. How did you end up playing the accordion?
Well, I grew up playing piano, and then my parents would buy me kind of church organs that we would find at thrift stores because I really loved like 80s
So
synths. And
cool.
you can really buy these amazing organs with all these preset drum beats. They're huge. So that's why they're so cheap because nobody knows what to do with them. But you can get them at thrift stores for like $50 and they sound like all of the, is it Beach House? Is that the name of the band?
Yeah, that's a band. Yeah.
Okay, that's a big band, right? They did a whole album on one of these organs with all the preset drum beats. It's just such a specific, particular sound. So anyway,
Mhm.
my parents bought me those, and then that sound kind of took me to accordion because I wanted to be more mobile. Because people were having all these jam sessions, and I was like, I can't really lug a piano or an organ over to a jam. So an
Yeah.
accordion is a much more mobile way for me to be able to participate. And then I just kind of fell in love with it. I like thought it was funny at first. I was like, look at this accordion. And then I really like loved it.
So
I really, yeah.
random tidbit, not a synth, but my dad is obsessed with church organs, like pipe organs. And whenever we travel, he wants to stop in every church and check out their
You know what?
organ.
I would really like your dad. I do the
Yep.
same thing. And there, especially if you ever go to Europe, you can
Yep.
just like Amsterdam has an amazing one. You can just walk into these churches and they have a pipe organ concert. And it
Yes.
is just the most amazing sound. I mean, it's
Yes.
unbelievable.
And some of them will let you like go crawl up in there. Like, you know, my dad's befriended many a organ player to be like, hey, can I go see the pipes?
That's so
I
cute.
gave my last one away. I gave it away during COVID for no particular reason other than I didn't really have space for it. And then that person I gave it to like made an album with it. So I'm like listening to the sounds and I was like, God, I miss that organ, but I gave it away.
Wow.
Aw.
I
That's
gotta find
really
Get
another
another
one
one. Yeah. So, okay, wait. Did this band happen while you were at UCLA or was this like with people
afterward.
from back home? Okay.
No, nobody I knew from anything. I
Yeah.
met a person at a bar and he and I became very good
That always
friends. And
happens.
then he
Mhm.
was like, you need to come to Burning Man. And I was like, what is Burning Man? I was like, what is Burning Man? I don't even know. And he was like, basically, don't ask too many questions. Trust me, I'm going to pull up to your apartment in an RV and you should get it. And
And you
I
were
was,
like, yes.
you know, I was just out of college. I had like 16, jobs. I was like, I don't know how I figured it out, but I was like, I'm going to get in this RV when you pull up to my house. And I did. And in the RV, I met Jade and Alex, who were the lead singers of Edward Sharpe. And we really bonded during that one. I think we stayed at Burning Man way too long. Like, just really there. But we were also really didn't plan for it. So we were all eating like canned tuna. I mean, it was like
Wow.
not a well-planned trip, but it was so fun. And we really bonded. And then when we got back, they had said they had been recording some music and were looking for accordion and some other elements and asked me to come in and listen and play on a couple songs as they were finishing the album. And I heard it and I was like, this is unbelievable.
So cool.
Oh my God.
I was so excited to hear what was going on.
So this is, tips for people just starting out. Get in the RV.
Safely.
Get in the RV.
Make sure you feel safe.
But like do the adventure. Live your life. Yeah.
When I think about sliding doors, I'm like, honestly, a decade of my life would have been different if I didn't get in the RV. So there is also a period of life where it's like, go on the adventure, say yes, do the thing. You don't meet the person, like just, I think that's an important section of life. I'm older now. I was in my 20s then. I think that is also what that time is perhaps more about. Now I have,
Yeah.
There, but that's not to say I'm still not going on great adventures. I am. But there is a certain freedom of that period of life that is really special.
Yeah.
So you were there, you were touring for 7 years. How did the decision come about to leave the band and like do writing and directing full time?
Yeah. This had always been my goal to be a writer and director. But again, and this is my own programming with myself, I didn't know it was particularly available. It was not something I had a clear understanding of how to do. Didn't. And that just has to do with my own limitations that I had put on myself, truthfully. What I did understand a bit better was how to get into acting. So I was acting on shows. And whenever I was acting on shows, I was sitting with the directors. I was talking to the
Mm.
writers. I was understanding. I was getting a greater sense. I really do believe in this idea of kind of expanders, or you have to have some understanding of how someone else might have done it, or something. And this is, again, for me, this is not prescriptive. For me to have an understanding that it is possible or that there is a way to do it. And so it was incredibly helpful for me to talk to writers about how they did it, their viewpoints on it, talk to directors about how they showed their work, how they got their first few things out there, so that it didn't just seem like this Grand Canyon of like, I do not know how to get to the other side. So a lot of those conversations were really helpful for me. And then when I was on tour with the band, I was taking night classes online in screenwriting because I
Wow.
really love education on things. And I'm not the kind of person who likes to say, I know exactly how to do this if I really don't feel like I have done the study. I like to know
Yeah.
all the rules if I'm going to break them. I really want to know theory. I want to have read. I know I like that part of it. So I was taking online writing classes while I was on tour. I wrote a show, and I kind of made a decision, I think after 7 years, that, the band was the most amazing, beautiful section of life, but I knew I wanted to try to do something else. And
Yeah.
I thought I might absolutely fail, 1000% fail. But I thought I got to give it a go, and if I fail, I fail. And I might as well try, because otherwise, I'll get to keep doing this lovely thing. But I thought my talents might be better used somewhere else. So I left the band. Somehow was able to sell that TV show with great, amazing collaborators who really helped me out. And I got paired with a writer who was much farther along than I, who became a real mentor in that situation. And then from that moment on, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this. And so from that moment on, writing and directing really became my focus.
What show was that? The first one
Wow.
that you guys worked on?
So
And did it go?
yeah, it didn't go, but I did get to shoot it. It was for Comedy Central, and it was called Bestseller. And it is like a very surreal look behind the scenes of the Home Shopping Network. So it's like Game of Thrones at the Home Shopping Network. Like the lead of the show dies live on the air, and her disciples like vie for position. It's a very kind of Boz Lerman-y home shopping show. And if you can see it online on Vimeo, or if you just type in bestseller, you know,
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. We'll link that.
you can watch like a pilot presentation version that we did get to make, that I'm really proud of. We did it for very little money. I ended up getting like some grants to make it after it didn't get picked up. Um, and shot it because it had such a specific visual language that I really wanted it to show people what was in my head aesthetically.
Yeah.
That's
So I'm
so
really proud
cool.
of that journey of that. And it was such an exciting journey to learn the process of selling a show, going through development, and then what that looks like.
Right.
And
Wow.
for the YouTube viewers, Lucy, my cat, is really making an appearance. So I'm sorry if she's being distracting. She's like, let
Hilarious.
me get on the mic
Yeah.
here.
She wants to play. Okay, so beyond that, it seems like a lot of the things that you've gotten to work on or made have this musical element, which is so cool that you've gotten to like sort of combine a lot of your worlds. Of course, we have to talk about Daisy Jones and the Six before
Yeah.
we
Obsessed.
go on to anything else, which was adapted from a book. How did that work in the writer's room? What was it like adapting something from a book?
Yeah, great question. I mean, it was helpful in many ways in that the story had a bookend. So it wasn't an open ended. We knew it was going to be a limited series. We were going to start at this place and end at this place. And there was so much material from Taylor Jenkins Reid that was just so thoughtful. All the characters were very fleshed out. So she gave us so much. Now, obviously, when you're making a TV show and breaking things into episodes, you have to create mini arcs. You have to create emotional balances and stakes that might not be in the book in the same way, because you're breaking them into pieces. So we had to expand on the characters and stories that she had, so amazingly written, and give ourselves extra stories, extra beats. Where could this go? So it was really an expansion based on a set of tools that were already so strong. So usually, obviously, when you're setting up a new show, you have to work so hard to create the set of tools, the characters, the setting, the stakes, all that stuff before you can create all the other stories. We started in that place where all of that already existed. So it gave us such a leg up to then use our imaginations and go from there. But yeah, that was an incredible experience. We all read so many different music biographies and autobiographies. And then we would share what we learned. So then there was a lot of stuff, from my experiences on tour, that those stories, were great to share in the room. So we could really talk about what it's like to be in a touring band, what it's like to be a woman in a male-centric touring band, all of those different elements. It was a really wonderful place to share stories. And everyone in that room was such a music lover and a music fan. So it was an incredible, incredible group of people working on that show.
Were there other musicians in the room with you?
I don't know if there was anyone who had specifically been in a band, but there were a lot of people where music is an incredible part of their life. So, I don't know what the correct word is, musicophile, or people who every concert of so people with an incredible amount of music knowledge. I don't think anyone else had been in perhaps a touring band, but.
I love hearing you say that, because I love the book, and, a lot of the readers make comparisons between Fleetwood Mac and Daisy Jones and the Six, and I'm sure there's so much amazing music history to draw on from the 70s and beyond. But I love how you expanded on specifically the Karen Suki Waterhouse character, because she's in the book and she has her own story, but it is the book is divided, every chapter is an interview, it's similar to the show. So you're getting perspectives on Daisy and the band, the whole experience from everybody. But to your point, there's so much more on screen, I'd say, than in the book for those other band members.
Yeah. And that was just a fun thing to brainstorm on. So we did a lot of, and then at a certain point you put the book down, because we've kind of jumped into this new realm and you want to feel really free to keep going. So it's a nice balance of checking in and then also wanting to feel like we can expand if this is what the characters are needing. And Suki's character was also, and then also, it's once we know who's playing the roles, writing to that and writing what that dynamic feels like. And there's a lot to be said for staying open in that place as well.
Yeah. And how special to be able to give another woman in a band on tour at that time, fresh life and perspective. It's not just the one single female story of the lead singer. It's everybody.
Different experiences in the same group.
Right.
And that's, I love looking at how different people view the same happening. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. It's like the mamas and the papas too, how there was both of the women, both with such different stories. It just, her character reminded me so much of that too.
Yeah.
It's so fun. And what about, there's a lot of lyrics in the book already. Because you guys had Blake Mills come in, right? And a ton of amazing indie pop artists. At what point did he and they come in?
Super early.
Oh, cool.
Really early. He was involved, gosh, I want to say early when we were writing the season, because we would kind of get to a place of okay, I think we need a song like this, and working off some of the lyrics, but then also doing his own thing. And Blake is so talented. And I had been a fan of his for a long time. I think he played some shows with us as Edward Sharpe open for us. So we already kind of knew each other in the world.
Yeah.
And he is an unbelievable musician. I mean, beyond being one of my favorite guitar players, his solo albums, Break Mills, and I'm forgetting the name of the other one, are just unreal. So I felt very excited that he was doing the music, and I knew there was no way it was going to be bad, because he's so thoughtful and has such amazing taste.
That album was on so many of my friends' like top, like Spotify Wrapped, like is there a top listened album for that year?
It's just an honest to God good album. And I feel like a lot of times when you're dealing with TV bands, that's not always the case.
Mm-hmm.
And this felt real. Like this felt, I hear it come on now.
It was
just
real.
like, like 70s playlists. And I'm like, yeah,
Hell yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So, okay, you have like a very strong comedy background as well. And you were speaking to being, an actor on set and talking to directors and writers. And, you got to be on The Office, which is like so many people's favorite comedy.
Mm-hmm.
What would you recommend to actors who are in that position, who like want to learn more about writing and directing? Like, is there an appropriate way to, now that you've been on the other side of the camera as well, like ingratiate yourself or learn from these people? I'm currently on a TV show, and sometimes actors will come into Video Village, and I work on The Night Agent, and yeah, and so it's sometimes like they'll come hang out and ask questions, and I think there's a balance. And sometimes, like when I was acting, I was like, "Is this annoying? Can I ask a question?"
There's always such a balance. It is such a respect thing because everybody is doing a job, and it is not their job to sit there and explain what they do to you because they're working. And this isn't something I would do right away. Like I was on a show Greek for 19 episodes or something. After a while, when I've developed a relationship with the writers and we really trust each other and the directors, they would know I was interested in this stuff. So it also might be them inviting me to just come sit. And I would just sit there quietly. And, when I started to get really interested in directing, I would make my shot list just sitting there quietly. And then I'm watching what the director's doing and I'm comparing. I'm saying, okay, what did I have on my shot list? What are they doing? Where are they different? That is a great thing to do. And I think also if you want to be a director, that's such an easy thing for you to do at home. Get a script to something. Don't watch it yet. Make a shot list for a couple scenes. Then watch the scenes. What did they do and what did you have? And what's the difference and why? And which one told the story better through the use of camera? And which one had whose style? And so I just think that's something you can do at home. Writing specifically, I mean, you gotta write. You have to write and you have to revise. And so I really recommend taking some kind of class. Like the one I always recommend to people that you can do online is called Writers Boot Camp. And I think they're in Venice or Santa Monica. I think you can go in person too. But I'm sure there are many. This is one I have taken that I really recommend to people. It breaks it down for you in a really practical way to get through something when you're starting out. It'll get you from A to Z, and you'll learn a lot on the way, and you can go back and revise. But if you're feeling stuck or you're feeling like, I just don't have the information, I don't have the skill set to go through this is a really good base level to teach you some things about structure.
Such great advice. Yes.
Yeah.
We will be linking that.
The three of us went to musical theater programs, and, you've created shows, you've directed, you've done all this stuff that wasn't, necessarily part of our training. And I think sometimes people are intimidated by that. They're like, I don't, I have instincts, but I have come out of school and I don't really know how.
And I think there's so many different kinds of learners. And I think some people don't need that education to feel comfortable. And that's actually not how I am. I really want all the education. It's like I like to read the dictionary to be able to speak English. Like I want to see it. I want to know everything.
Yeah, totally.
And so that's just also, and this is one of the most important things I think I've learned about myself at this point in my life is how I learn. What kind of a learner are you? And I think really clarifying that for yourself is very helpful when you get into moments of feeling stuck or feeling like you don't know what to do. If you go back to really how you learn, that can be very helpful because everybody learns differently. So for me, that kind of information was really integral. And now I don't go back and look at it so much because I think I've developed my own kind of theories and process off of that. But it was really helpful to have at the beginning.
Yeah,
totally.
And when you're on set now too, as just an actor, like I just happened to have finished watching Shrinking yesterday. Sobbing.
Yeah.
Sobbing. When you do then go on set as just an actor, how do you feel now about that? Do you feel like you've learned a lot from the other side that you can then take into just being an actor? Do you feel itchy as just an actor? Like,
Yes.
oop, I can't do anything?
Oh my God. I love it so much. I love it so much just going as an actor now when I'm not directing, because I feel I'm just like, oh, I'm not stressed about, I don't have to worry about the lights. I don't have to worry about it feels so fun for
For
me now.
sure.
Because also when I was acting is like my job, there's it's a different kind of thing. And now I feel like I'm doing it so much for the love of it. I love it. I love it. And it's so fun.
I love
Um,
that.
and so I just feel
Yeah.
really grateful now whenever I get to do it, and whenever, Shrinking is an incredible show to be a part of. And I have learned
Amazing.
so much from directing, and, in directing, shows with similar tones to that, about how I can be really helpful to the director, how I can, it's about the character. It's about servicing the scene. It's about servicing their show. It's not about me. So I feel like I can just be really helpful to the director by how I'm handling the blocking, what options I'm giving them in my performances. I know when I'm in the edit, I like to have a lot of options for people. I don't want it the same every way. If I have it the same way every take, I only need to do one. So giving enough variation where you're still hitting the beats that everyone has agreed upon, you're still hitting your intention and obstacle that we have all said this is how we want to do this scene, but giving enough variation so that they have something to work with in the edit, is something that I always appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have learned a lot from directing that helps me when I get to pop in and be an actor.
Yeah.
It's kind of the perfect transition to talk about you're in a movie, Couples Weekend. I'm going to give everyone the log line if you haven't seen it yet. 4 adults navigate deception and desire when a fallen tree on New Year's Eve triggers a chain of events that challenges their relationships and the lies they tell themselves and each other. It stars Ashley Park, Josh Gad, Daveed Diggs, and Alexandra Daddario. And I think what you're talking about with the beats and being an actor and a director, like there's a real nuanced balance here between comedy and drama, like the real grounded stakes of what these 4 characters are dealing with. And like, it's very funny. Like I really enjoyed the dynamic of this foursome. So, I'd love to hear when you were directing and writing, like how are you balancing the tonality and like making sure you're grounding it in the reality of like, what would someone do in the situation and also leaving room for comedy?
Yeah, great question. I mean, it's so funny because like when I wrote this script, I felt like, oh, this is my tone. Like I'm feeling it here. And I work in a lot of different genres and I work in a lot of different tones, but this movie felt very me, which is a lot of humor in the dark moments. That's how I think. That's how I write. And so I was excited to see it come across. And I will say so much of the way that happened is the casting, and casting
So good.
people who understood the tone, who were excited by the tone, and who had this incredible ability to oscillate between humor and heartbreak in the same scene. And so I can't say enough amazing things about the entire cast and their ability to do that, because they all did it. And it's not necessarily easy. I was just blown away by them every day. So that's a huge thing, is getting collaborators who are all on board with the same tone. But they really brought it to life. So that just happened to be what was in my head as I was writing. And I was writing jokes when people should be crying. And I hoped that would work out well when it came out. And now that I've been seeing it with some audiences, they are feeling comfortable laughing in those moments. And I'm like, okay, great. That was the point. That worked out. That made me feel good.
Yeah. When did you guys shoot this again?
Oh my God.
Because it was a long time ago, right?
It was like 2.5 years ago. Yeah. But I've also learned, this was my first feature that I wrote and directed. And so after working a lot in TV, this is my first time doing independent financing and distribution and going down that road. And we went to, a film festival. We premiered at Tribeca, but that was, there were a lot of decision makers and pieces that I realize I don't, after you finish the movie, that don't have to do with me. Other people make these decisions, and the path of the movie is not in the hands of the filmmaker all the time. But
Totally.
I feel very grateful that it is now out, and I'm so happy that it even played in some theaters. So I feel like, the journey is I hear all different kinds of stories about people and their movies being released. So I feel grateful for our story, even though it took a little bit longer. I'm still happy about it,
Yeah. It's so fun. They're such like amazing people to watch too, that I feel like your like the language of it, the pacing of it, the almost like musicality of it shines through so well in this cast.
Yes,
I love
they
that.
are. And they were so wonderful to work with. And I know, know, Ashley, like what an amazing spirit she is.
Oh my God.
But everyone,
all of them,
every single one showed up also with like 10 pages of dialogue learned, ready to go and excited. And it was just a really incredible experience to have on such a small movie with 20 days. We shot it.
Insane.
Where did the idea come from? Were you thinking of that whole, like, if a tree falls in the woods, does anyone hear it?
Yeah, that I don't even know at what point in the process that idea came into me. I was interested in doing something where actors could really stand and deliver. I've been feeling like a lot of the things I've been shooting are so short. The scenes are short. You only go at one setup, they say one line and then you move. I wasn't feeling like people were getting to do scene work. Like the theater. I was missing the theater. And so I really wanted to do something where we have long takes, long scenes, monologues, and obviously Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is one of my favorite plays.
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, same.
And that didn't even hit me until later, but I realized of course, was probably inspired by the like chamber reverberation of four people in a house, similar to Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. So I was excited by that. I really had the whole idea. I had originally written it as a short story, and it was just the concept of like, if you saw your partner cheating, but you were with your best friend of 20 years and they didn't want to say anything because it would blow up their marriage, and you have an allegiance to them in the same way you have an allegiance to your partner, who would you choose? Who would you choose to protect? And I thought it was an interesting enough question to ask, not even myself of what I would do, but it's just an interesting enough dilemma that maybe it could continue for a whole movie. So originally it was a short story. And then I thought, let me just keep going and let me see what happens.
Yeah, it really does feel like a four-hander play, right? Like you almost, I love the scene where they're all in four separate rooms dealing with it in their own four separate ways. And like, she's screaming at them like, do not come out of the room. And then you like go between, it's like, you could almost see that like on a stage.
I know.
Playing out.
Cool.
I do want to commend you though, because, it doesn't it feels like it's the appropriate medium. Like sometimes I see things and I'm like, this should have been a play. And in sort of an unfortunately negative way where I'm like, but this felt great as a movie. And I feel like that's a testament to your blocking and like your cinematography. Like what Carly is talking about with that 4-person scene was so fun. But also when they first see the cheating, you have the actors mimic the physicality almost, like, and they don't know they're doing it. Like they're seeing this thing through a window and then they fall in the snow and their two couples are almost in the same position. And it's like, oh my God, how heartbreaking to see that. But also that's so funny.
Yeah, great. That's so cool. We had changed. We had shot so much other sex through the window and kept moving around what we were actually going to see. That was actually one of the hardest things in the whole movie to shoot, because during the day you actually can't see through a window like that. And I didn't want to shoot them walking in the woods day for night because I just thought it would be too blue. So it was actually a very cool thing. We decided like the night before how to do it, which is that we did a plate. So we shot the sex scenes at night so that you could see through the
Oh,
We
smart.
marked where we put the camera in the snow. And then we went back during the day and just did a plate of the window so that they
Whoa.
could just take the window part and use the daytime house and the evening window.
Smart.
Yeah. But that was
Wow.
like the night before. I was like, what? We got to do something because we can't see through the window.
Alternate
Yep.
title, Sex Through the Window.
Sex through the window. I know when the title got changed to Couples Weekend, I was like, because it used to be called A Tree Fell in the Woods. I understood the change, but I was like, I understood why. But it was funny to see it now as Couples Weekend when that wasn't what I always thought.
That is such a funny like marketing thing that I feel like we keep like seeing now that we're understanding indie film so much more too and beyond. But like that change is out of your control sometimes. Like, oh.
Yes, it definitely is. But, but it's also, I'm learning so much. And also like, it doesn't bother me at all. I'm like, I think it's also a great title, looks good. So it's just more about readjusting your preconceived notions of it had been ingrained in a certain way.
Yeah.
Do you think like achieving comedy with cinematography, not just the words, but the visual aspect of it, and also, working with an editor, is that something you think can be taught?
You mean shooting comedy and with the camera and how you edit it?
Yeah, because sometimes, I feel like there's this sort of adage that, you're either born funny or you're not with that sensibility. So I'm wondering if, because I really was like, I feel like I want to watch this again just to see how you guys worked to achieve some of these, like the frame. The frame is like, what's happening in the frame is really beautiful and like very much
really
like adds a
beautiful.
layer.
Totally. And, I had worked with Jeff, the DP, Jeff Leeds Cohen, before. He had shot 2 short films. So he shot The Thing Bestseller and another short film so we had worked together. So we had honestly, almost all the department heads I had worked with before, which is great. And if I hadn't worked with them, they were amazing. Like Liam, our production designer, was new. I had never worked with him, and he just knocked it out of the park. Just unbelievable.
That room that Josh Gad wakes up in, the blue wallpaper, everything.
He did everything, every wallpaper, every carpet, every curtain. He really did it.
Love that.
Unbelievable job. But I mean, can it be taught? I don't know. The thing I think is also important is that like there are so many different kinds of senses of humor I'm realizing, and understanding what yours is important. And like, cause mine is different than someone else's. And maybe you guys think it's funny and that's so great. That means we have a similar sense of humor, but there are, there's so many different, like Tim and Eric as an example. I'm like, that's such a different sense of humor, or Wet Hot American Summer, such a different sense of humor. I think those are both funny, but they're just like, there's so many different rhythms of humor. So I think maybe, I don't know if it could be taught or not, but most people have it in them. You just got to find it.
Yeah. And it also is like, it can be sort of mathematical, right?
Oh yeah.
With certain types of brains. Yeah.
I think like when you were talking about musicality and rhythm, I think comedy is such a
100%
pacing, spacing thing. And in the edit, you can add 4 frames and something becomes funny. And if you took the 4 frames away, it just didn't hit the same way. And that's such a delicate balance. And you're like, why is that the case? And I don't even know if we could even explain it, but we as people are drawn to a certain 3 groups of 3s. Like there's all these, and you don't even really know why it is, but it is.
Yeah.
Totally.
Is the editor, had you worked with the editor before?
I had not worked with Henry before. He's so wonderful. He was just great. I mean, everybody was, I feel really lucky. My producers on this movie, Lynette Howell Taylor and Sam Houseman, were just also, I don't know, I just had a good group start to finish. And I think that made the feeling on set so happy. And everyone was really dedicated. I feel so grateful for them believing in me and believing in the project. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what you were talking about with everyone came prepared and understanding the tone. Had you, like outside of their, whatever the casting process was, had you sent them anything or talked about like, hey, this is the tone we're trying to achieve?
I'd have to go back and look. I feel like I did send some movies to watch, and now I have to I think I mentioned Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf for sure. And then I think there were a few other movies, and I have to go back and look at them. But what I sent because it's been a minute.
Mhm.
But I did say, if you ever think something is funny, it should be. So even if
Cool.
there's a line in the middle of Ashley and Josh Gad's fight scene where she's asking him if she's dumb. And she says,
Yeah.
like, it's a really heartfelt moment, but
I
she
know.
says,
I
like, think
I cried.
I'm reading, I try to read all the books, but I think I'm reading the wrong ones. And she says it in such a heartbreaking way. But to me, that line is like a joke and like in a great way. And I'm like, oh, that is just, it just makes me so happy because it does get a laugh. And
Yeah.
it's her ability to commit so heavily to the drama of the moment. And I just thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so special.
How are you doing on time?
I would say like I got under 10.
Okay. Carly, you want to ask one more?
Well, yeah, I have so many things I want to talk about. We're going to have to talk a different time. There's too much to discuss. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, I think there's a few other things we want to talk about. One is like what's upcoming for you. But I also want to talk about so quickly the VR project that you did, that you directed.
One I did for Hulu called Door Number One, which
Yes.
was a live action interactive VR comedy where the viewer is the lead character. So when you put on the headset, you were the lead and you got to make decisions based on what you were interested in. So it was at a 10-year high school reunion. So like Snoop Dogg's over here and, you know, Robbie Patel's over here and whoever you're paying attention to with your head physically in space, you will go down that rabbit hole. And then you would go into scenes with them. And so there was like a decision tree of the script was not a linear. It was a series of decision splitting trees all the way down. And it was so complicated to write, but in a really fun way. Because it was like, if you learn something here, then you didn't learn it here, then you need to learn it over here. And if you go this way, I mean, it was such a writing challenge. But we were all really excited about VR at the time, thinking people might want to experience story that way. And so Hulu set up a whole department and we got to make this thing. That department no longer exists. So I don't even know if you can see this anywhere. But we made it and you can float on a meteor with Snoop Dogg. And it was
that's my dream. I mean, that's so cool. It's really interesting to think about like where directing and writing and media goes from here as we keep adapting. And I also feel like that's such a fun thing to make when you are somebody that loves like a rabbit hole so much, you know, like, and I think you can really see that in everything that you make. It's like that you are just such a lover of storytelling in all of the different things that you do.
That's very nice.
That the VR department doesn't exist anymore. So like, okay, maybe it's not going there.
What are you going to do? I've made 2 things that don't exist anymore. Like I made a whole interactive television show for a network called Echo, and that now it doesn't, but now you can't see it anymore.
I watched The Coop. My friend Katie Wee was on it.
I love Katie.
Yeah, that's very funny.
That was also a very fun one. But so, you know, everything is changing all the time.
Guys, remember Quibi?
What are you going to do?
Maybe a little ahead of its time now because all these verticals are coming up. I'm like, Quibi was
100%.
Yeah, and then you've got Escorted. Is that what you're working on right now?
That is where I am right now. Wonderful, incredible show that we're writing for Amazon, run by Brett Goldstein and Brian Gallivan. Incredible. And we'll start shooting in a little bit later.
Cool.
And it's going to be on Amazon at some point, and I think you'll really like it. It's going to be a great show.
Yeah, can you tell us anything about it?
Well, I'm trying to think of what has been announced, but it is, I think the logline that has been announced is that it's about a man who accidentally becomes a male escort. And it's really about the intricacies of intimacy and if intimacy can ever really be bought. So it's really great and sweet and heartfelt and a lot about emotions, and it's going to be great. We're having such a great time working on it.
I love that. I'm wondering if you remember your first like staffing interview, if you have any advice for writers who are going through that interview process, like obviously be yourself, but like, is there anything that you think is really helpful or when it's your show that you want to hear from people you're meeting with?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like probably everyone has like a different opinion on this. I like to come in with ideas because I think, especially if you're just starting out, you don't have as much to show for yourself other than your sample, which is something that you definitely will need. And you need to have probably a couple samples in different genres, lengths, tones, like half-hour comedy, hour drama, like whatever it is you want to work in, or if you want to work in multiple things, you need to have a couple samples. That's just like, you got to have it.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, I mean, I like to come in with ideas. So if it's a show about something, like when I was interviewing on Daisy Jones, like I came in with a notebook of stories
I love that.
talking about them to say, like, you know, here's what I have to show for myself, but here's some things I think would really fit in this world. And again, I don't really know what they're thinking, but just to show them how you think, just to show them that you have thought about it, that you've done some work, and how you're able to kind of verbalize story pitches, I think is helpful. So that's something I would always try to do when meeting on something. To be a writer, that's something I will always try to do.
I think that's really smart because if they don't like that for whatever reason, then maybe it's not a good fit, you know, like.
Yeah. And it just starts a dialogue because then you can see like, okay, you say something they really spark to, and then they say something and then you say something and like, okay, now we're having a creative conversation and this is what that would feel like.
Totally.
Just to see like how your brains work together.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well,
Amazing.
because I know you need to go back and use those creative sparks. Do you have a film related hot take to share with us?
It's hot take time.
I know I'm bad at this. Other than I can say, if you have never seen Defending Your Life, Albert Brooks, Meryl Streep, have you guys seen it?
I have not. I know it, but I have not seen it.
This is so great. I'm so excited for you.
Perfect hot take.
It's a movie that I'm always surprised to hear that people haven't seen. To me, it's like one of the greatest movies ever made.
Albert Brooks, are you kidding?
I know, and Meryl Streep. I mean, it's just,
yeah.
And I don't know how you beat it in terms of concept and execution. It is, it's beautiful and it's funny and it makes you think. And I just think it's an amazing movie.
I love that. Okay, everyone, add it to your Letterboxd watch list.
Yep.
I will follow you up in saying my current hot take is that we got to stop saying in our note giving, like, this character isn't likable. I thought we were beyond this, and we're not, apparently. I think what we mean is this character, let's find something relatable. Because I'm like, I love an anti-hero, and you don't have to like someone to relate to them. And I think that often makes for great story because you're like, oh, this dark part of me relates to this thing. And what does that mean? And now I'm really interested. Mm-hmm. So short and sweet, or not sweet. I think we got to stop saying likable.
Yeah. These are great short and sweet ones, to the point. My hot take is that I think, maybe not on every set, but because I started as a dancer and come from the choreography world, but I also direct and act, I would love on sets for there to always be some sort of like choreographer or movement person, you know? Like, obviously, we want to be safe with like the sex scenes and stuff, but a lot of shows, like, I mean, Vika and I have talked about this a lot. If there's like a stripper in it or like anything that has to do with like a very specific type of movement quality, I think it would be so cool to have a choreographer on set to be on top of that, expert, because like an expert, like a cam girl, like, you know, I mean, there's so much more than just, these are very specific examples, but like, and then they're like, hey, could you like kind of move around, like do a cam girl thing, and like actors are not always
in something I wrote.
yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, it's an added expense. But like, just to have somebody to make that actor feel safe, like, oh God, I don't know what to do here. Like, I'm already embarrassed because I'm half naked and having to like play a cam girl, you know, could somebody help me just like decide what that movement is going to be? And I just think so many different situations could benefit from that.
Agreed.
A hot and sexy take.
Guys, this has been such a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Lovely conversation.
So fun to meet you. Everyone go see Couples Weekend. Follow Nora on all the social platforms, and, you know, rate it 5 stars on all of the platforms.
That would be great.
We look forward to seeing Escorted.
Yes. Look out
God,
for
I
it.
know. Thank you so much, Nora.
Bye, guys.
Thank you guys for listening. See you next time.
Bye.
Daddy Dailies is a production of Not Your Daddy's Films, a social impact organization dedicated to educating and empowering women and non-binary creatives in TV and film. If you like what you heard today, click subscribe and leave us a positive review. If you want more Daddy episode insights and to be the first to know about in-person events, follow Daddy Dailies Pod and NYD Films on Instagram and TikTok. Daddy Dailies is edited by Vika Stubblebine and Carly Tamarin. See you next time, Daddy.